weekend and I'm trying to figure out what I should do next. Toying with the red tartan, but I do really want to try and work on this pattern, the grey wool sort of school fabric. That's the one that I really don't know whether it's possible, because I don't know if I've got enough fabric. It's one of these things, you hold it up to yourself and you go, oh yeah, that'll do. It's sort of dressy, a dress sort of amount. But yeah, by the time you do all the edges and the seams, it might not be. So it's going to be a bit of a trick. Just to remind you, of course, if you haven't seen the other video, do go back and watch that. I'll put a link up here. Let me just cover off the information. This is a charity shop pattern. I wanted to do this number 3, very plain, not with the pleats and all the rest of it, just a very plain sort of dress, but I wanted to do it as a pinafore, and I think it really sort of suits that pinafore style. The pattern is a 16, 18 and 20, and I am not. I would be a size 10 or 12 in this pattern. So clearly I had to grade down on the pattern anyway. Well, when I looked inside the pattern, all the skirt pieces were missing. The front panel piece that I want to use is missing. The back pieces are also missing. In fact, the only thing in this pattern envelope is the sides, front and back, these side pieces here, front and back, and this pleated front panel piece. That's all that's in here, and the instructions. So what I have done is I have used the side pieces that I've got in the size 16, 18, 20. I've graded it down, and I've actually graded it down on the pattern, and I'm actually going to cut out the pattern because, as I said in my previous video, this pattern is of no use to anybody else because there's so much of it missing, and there's no point in me keeping it size 18 and 20 that I'm not, so it would be much more useful if I just cut it down on the pattern pieces. I have made up a front panel piece vaguely using this one on view 1 with the pleats. I've used that as sort of a guide to draft up a front bit, and I'm anticipating the back will be sort of roughly that, cut in half to allow for the seam. I'm going to make the skirt using my blocks that I have here, my A-line skirt block. That of course is not in a princess seam like this, so I will need to draft that up and adjust it for this. But my plan is, because I'm making so many alterations on this dress, obviously I'm going to do a mock-up to make sure that it will fit. So the other big thing is that the fabric that I have, the grey fabric, has a bleach mark on it. Hopefully you can see it along here. This happened in where I store my fabrics, in my Calex unit. I have them all folded and sort of layered so I can see all the different fabrics. What I didn't realise was the sun, even though it doesn't directly hit that cabinet, the incredibly strong UV from New Zealand actually had bleached the edges of my fabric. Hence why I have this pretty ugly bit of fabric just sort of draped in front. I was sort of planning to do something with that, but now we're moving. That'll do for now. So I have that bleach mark. Cunning plan. I don't know as I can tell the difference front and back in this fabric. I can't tell if it's upside down, backwards, frontwards. I don't think there's really a difference. So my plan is just to turn the fabric around and use what potentially could be the wrong side. I'm not sure. You're supposed to be able to see from the cell, aren't you? But I can't see which is right and which is wrong. So I'm just going to go with it. I'm going to use potentially the reverse side of the fabric, and then the bleach mark won't be an issue. But I don't have much of it. I've got a tiny bit, and obviously this is an A-line skirt dress, princess seams, all the rest of it. Will I fit it on the fabric? I don't know. Jeopardy! So I can always make the A-line skirt a straight skirt. I can make the skirt shorter, as long as it maybe just to my knee. I can make this lower. I do sort of want it to be lower anyway. I can make the back a lot lower. So I can see how much I can reduce the amount of fabric I need. Obviously facings I can do in maybe a contrast fabric or a lining fabric, or I will see if I can make it work. I have already drafted up the change of size for these side pieces, and I have drafted that front panel, which I'm going to also use as the back panel, just folded in half. I haven't drafted the base, so but what I'm going to do is actually make a mock-up, because I thought there's no point in drafting the base, which I know will fit me because I have my skirt block. There's no point in drafting that until I get these seam lines right and get the fit of the top right. So I'm going to do a mock-up first, and then come back to this fabric and see if it will fit. Well, I've just done a bit of a test fit. I've cut these pieces down so they are my size now, and I've just tested it on, and yeah, I'm hopeful at this point. So the next thing is to do the mock-up. Now, I've got a bit of old linen sheet left from that I used on, I think it was the lining of my 1 hour dress that I made. It was, what else did I use that for? My slip, my vintage slip, I actually made out of these linen sheets as well. Well, I still have some left. This is the sort of more dodgy bit in the middle, the sort of, you know, the fabric's thinner, but it will be fine for a mock-up. Here we go, a couple of old sheets. I'm just going to cut it out of this and test fit it. But first, given the state that it's in, I'm going to need to iron it. Linen creases really badly, and it's just been scrunched up in a little ball in the bottom of my calyx unit, so I need to iron it first. Then I can lay the pattern pieces out. It's not going to come true, is it, if I do it on a scrunchy fabric? No. Okay, well, it needs quite serious surgery. So this front side portion on here, on both sides at the front, I've pinned that over as well, but you can see it a little better on this side. There's about 1.5 centimetres, 2 centimetres that needs to come off all the way down here. It fits roughly about the waist, so it can grade in from the apex down to the waist. It's too long by quite a chunk all the way around it, so I might have to bring that up even more, because I think it's more flattering on me if I have a slightly high waist. At the back, the same thing. Difficult to show you, but I'll do my best. On the back, same thing, pinching out all the way up. And I also think that the top of it needs to come up higher. I mean, obviously, I've just completely made up this piece because I had nothing to go off. So that needs to come higher, I think, because otherwise the shoulders will fall off. The other thing is the armholes. Obviously this is a dress. Because I want to wear a shirt like this underneath it, I'm going to have to drop it, I think, about, golly, well that's a bit ruched up there. If I put the seam, take the seam allowance off, I think I'm going to have to drop it here by at least 1 centimetre, maybe again 1.5 centimetres, I think, to get that low enough to allow a shirt like this underneath. And again, at the front, for a shirt, the height's not too bad, but I think I could lower it a bit. And really the reason I would be lowering it is because trying to save fabric, because I'm going to raise the back. If I can make this a little bit lower, that would save me some fabric. So quite a lot of surgery to do on this. Once I get, interestingly enough, the width of this piece that comes across the front, it's sort of about right. It's the side pieces that are too wide, too long. Obviously it needed to grade down more than I graded it down, I would say. I'm going to take this off and try and convert this onto the pattern pieces. Am I going to do another mock-up? It might be worth it. This didn't take that long and there's so much to do on it. I think I will do another mock-up. Okay, so this is much better now, I think. I'll just have to pin that down a bit. But anyway, the shoulders are looking nice. I don't know, I might need to take more under the arm. I might need to bring it down even more, I think. The length is now sort of will be at the waist when I have a seam allowance on it, because of course that will be tucked up like so. I've just pinned it here because of course being by myself now without my daughter, I can't close it at the back, which would be obviously where the zip was going to go. So I've just sort of pinned it here so it's easier. This side is neater so you can see a bit better. So that comes in, again, I've stitched all the way up there. That'll come in at this point and be square. But the fitting is much better now. I'm hoping you can see that it fits better. I'll show you the back, but I think I'm pleased enough with that to go to the actual fabric. There is 1.5 centimetre seam allowance on all of this, so I've got wiggle room, even, you know, once I've sort of done the alterations. But I'll show you the back because I think it's working quite well. I think I'm happy with the back. I've raised the back because I thought these sleeves might fall off. So I'm pleased that I've raised the back. I think that works well. Actually, I have just looked in the mirror with the reverse mirror so I could see the back more easily myself. And I think there's a bit of extra here that could come out. So I might, these side pieces have a sort of a curve on them here. I might take off some of that curve. Because what I found on the front, there was way too much sort of bump out for the boob, because of course this was like size 18 and 20, and they'd only taken it in at the side, not the boob curve. So I needed to take a bunch in there, but maybe there is more room across the back as well, because it just seems a little bit puffy here. So I think I'm going to take some of that out. I'm just going to pinch it out a little bit, and then try it again just to make sure it's right before I go to the fabric. Okay, well, I have laid it out and I have squeezed all the pieces on, and I think just that I might be able to get it all on. I've even created some little pocket pieces as well, and fingers crossed. I haven't liked to cut into it yet because I keep sort of going away and having coffee and thinking, have I covered everything? I hate the cutting out bit. I always find that that's like, you can't go back, can you, if you cut it wrong? So I think I'm ready to do the cutting. I can't really show you the pattern piece. It's one of those where you have to cut out a bit and then rearrange the fabric, and then cut out another bit and then rearrange the fabric. I'm going to have to really think about this to cut it out. So what I'll probably do is come back to you when it's all cut out. I do have all the pieces now cut out. I had to put some maybe the wrong way up a little bit, and I've squeezed and squeezed, but yeah, all bits cut out. And a little bit of cabbage left over, not much. Now we have to try and start putting it together to see if it's going to work. First thing I'm going to do is obviously overlock it. This does seem to shred very easily, so I'm going to run it round I'm not actually sure what the composition of this is. It's definitely a natural fibre, like a wool, but whether it's got any silk or anything like that, I find that something with silk in it, it just starts to fall apart. Anyway, the next thing is my overlocker. Actually has navy thread on it, of course, because I've been doing that skirt. So I need to rethread my overlocker into black and then do the grey. Now, have I got grey thread? I've got quite a bit of grey thread actually, so I think I should have something to do the job. But first job, of course, is to zoom around all the outsides and overlock everything to just make it more secure. And now what I'm doing is batch pinning it. So all of the panels, I had to do this because I was getting very confused, because all the panels, of course, look the same, front and back, and I'd put some marks on, but not enough. So anyway, I have now managed to work out what goes together with what. I have made sure that the marks, well, hopefully I've made sure that the fade mark is on the inside where it is showing up. And yeah, and I'm going to put the bodice together now as well as far as I can, and then I'm going to try and batch sew it, zoom as far as I can. I do also need to cut out the lining, but I thought I would just get the dress together a little bit first so that I can just sort of put it on and try and fit it. Yeah, I think that's what I'm going to do. But I might stop soon because it is Sunday night, so... But I've made some really good progress from not having anywhere on this project. I've managed to draft all the pattern pieces. I've managed to do a mock-up, a couple of mock-ups to get the fitting correct, fingers crossed, hopefully. I have then managed to get all of the pieces out of the very tiny bit of fabric that I had, and overlocked and I'm pinning. So I'm pretty pleased with the progress I've made this weekend. It wasn't an entire outfit like I wanted to, but some projects are going to be more tricky than other projects. So I have batch sewed all of this skirt in one piece. I have the pockets on, as you can see here. I haven't actually done the stitching at the bottom yet, but the pockets are on. I need to give that a really good press. I've also batch sewed the bodice pieces together front and back. So yeah, that was just zoom, 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 zoom yesterday evening on the machine. Now I'm actually going to look at the instructions, because it's quite strange having instructions in my sewing room. I don't often have sewing instructions because I sort of make stuff up. But yeah, there is a sort of an organisation to get the bodice together, because it's lined, it's fully lined with a lining fabric. Now the skirt actually isn't lined in this pattern, but I am going to line it. I'm going to use the black lining. I've got two different sorts of black lining for the bodice if I've got enough of it, and then I'm going to use this pinstripe white for the skirt. So I think that will be quite fun. So that's probably my next job, because looking at the instructions, how brilliant is this? The next bit is to actually put together the lining and then put the lining and the bodice together before I attach it to the skirt. To follow all these very complicated instructions. Somehow when I work it out myself, it just doesn't seem quite as complicated. The pictures are interesting because you've got to try and figure out what all the different layers are and what's actually happening in the picture. And this is actually really brief in its instructions. It's written in Spanish, French, is it Spanish? Yeah, I think it's Spanish, French and English. So there's only one side of instructions here, and then the tiniest bit on here, and that's the entire garment. So, and having 3 languages in that, there's not a lot in the way of detail, but I'm sure we'll work it out. Anyway, I'll get on with cutting these lining pieces out, because now I've done all, oh, and I will press these pieces, I think. Shall I test fit it? If I need to make any adjustments, it's probably best to do it when it's in bits and it's not attached to the lining. I'll do that. I'll see you soon. Okay, I've test fitted the bodice and I think that it's fitting really quite well, apart from the front. At the moment it's sort of coming up, it's a bit baggy sort of through here, so I'm just contouring under the bust to take it just closer to my body. So that's the only thing I'm going to do at the moment. I'm hoping that the shoulders aren't going to fall off. They seem a little bit sort of on the edge, but I think what I am going to do is go with this, do the lining and try and get it a bit more together before I make any more decisions. But I think the contouring will be nice, so I'm going to do that. So I have cut out all my lining pieces, that's all the skirt lining, and I have cut out and overlocked all of the bodice lining pieces. I have seamed together all of the skirt now. I'm going to overlock it as well, but it means that I need to change the thread on my overlockers. I've not done that yet. And I also want to make sure that it's going to fit correctly and work well before I actually take that extra fabric off the edge. Please excuse me, I've got very bad toothache at the moment, so I'm not looking my best. But anyway, we are ploughing on to take my mind off this tooth. I'm due for a root canal, which is not pleasant, but hey-ho. So, I have also put together the bodice as per the instructions on the instruction sheet. So I think the next thing I need to do is pin it onto the bodice top, which has also been stitched to that level. I need to pin it together, and then I think I stitch around the armholes and down the back and round the neck from the looks of the image, and then I trim it and turn it and then do the side seam. So it all looks very complicated, but I have instructions, so that's what I'm going to do next. I have stitched it all together. These little bits in the seams were quite tricky because you had to sort of stop and start, but I've done all that. What I'm going to do now is trim the seams, clip the seams, and then do the turning through, and hopefully it will work. I mean, it's all like that, so it should turn through pretty easily, but hopefully when I turn it through it's neat. Okay, well, it's getting very complicated now. I have turned it in the right way and sort of pressed it, and now we have to sort of pull the lining over the top and do the side seam and then up to the lining. I've sort of vaguely put it on. I've got fingers crossed that it's going to fit, because I'm a little concerned about the shoulder seams being a little high near the neck, but it's supposed to go over other clothes, so I'm sort of hoping it's going to work. But anyway, the next thing is to do the side seams, and then I think I need to attach the skirt. So hopefully the skirt will go on. Once I've got the skirt on, then I think I can get the zip in, and then, because I've gone off the pattern now, it's not working anymore. So then I think I can put the zip in then, hopefully, and then we'll see if it fits, because it's tricky. I can't actually tell until it's all together. So let's get on with zooming these bits up. Hopefully it'll all work, and we'll see where we go from there. Well, I've tried it on. I think it's a bit short. You probably can't tell. If I can get back here, it's just on my knee, and I could put a bias. Well, I probably will put a bias binding edge on it to make the tiniest hem, but I still think it's too short. I've come up with a cunning plan. I've got some little bits left over, and I'm thinking, could I sort of mock up, working with sort of the seams, so there would be a seam at the side, the two sides I think, and obviously at the zip at the back. Could I mock up a sort of a belt, but like a belt in the dress? So because there's room in the skirt, I could drop that down. Could I then put a sort of a belt piece in between, which would give me just that little bit of extra room, like another inch, which could be what I need. I just think it might help the proportions a bit. I've tried to attach the skirt with the tiniest sort of seam possible, but it's still a bit short. So I think I'm going to use these little tiny scraps and see. I've got one bit that is a decent length that could go in the middle, and then a couple of tiny bits for the back. Or I might need to, because it's princess seams, I might need to put more of the princess seams in. I'm not sure, but I think I'm going to try that, because I'm really concerned with it being an A-line. The proportions are not right. Now the other option I have is to put a bit of something at the bottom. But what's that going to be? I mean, I've got some black ribbon, but that again, like the same problem with the tartan dress, that's actually bringing attention down to the length, which is the bit I don't want the attention to. And obviously I can't, if I put something around the bottom, then I'm going to need more fabric. So I think I might try this. I'll get back to you. And I'm quite pleased because I found this beautiful tartan bias binding that my daughter left me. It was in her stash, and when she went to Germany she gave me bunches of stuff that I really liked. So this I think will be perfect, because I don't have much room on the skirt to do seam allowance, but look at that. So that'll be really nice, I think, because it's a little bit like school tie to me. So with the pinstripe of the skirt and the school tie of the binding, I think it'll be really quite sort of a nod to a school uniform, but not quite a school uniform. So really pleased with that. And I will just basically edge it. It's a A-line, pretty full A-line skirt anyway. So trying to hem it with a normal hem would be quite difficult. So being able to do some bias binding, and then of course if there's a flash of the edge of the skirt, or as you sit down you see the inside, there'll be this really nice tartan. So I'm pleased with that. I have done my best. I have put in a sort of a waist seam. I don't know if you can see it here. I think it's looking better. It's certainly given me the extra length I need. Of course that meant that I had to then add in a piece of extra lining fabric here. I did have some of the same, a little bit, which I cut up and piece in, and then of course I have actually added this lining in as well. Now I'm not going to actually stitch it to the side yet, because or stitch it in better than that, because I haven't of course put the zip in. So that's the next thing, is to put the zip in, and I can't really tell if it fits properly because I haven't got my daughter here, and so I can't get it pinned at the back to see how it's going to fit. So my only option is to basically put this zip in first and then zip it up and just pray and hope that it will actually fit according to the mock-up and all that, and then the extra bit that I've put in with this waist seam. I think it looks part of the, all sort of part of the look of it. So in my zip box I have this one, which I showed you before, which I might try because I think it comes up to about here on the back, and this just come past my waist. So this might work. Other than that, I have a long navy invisible zip, but that I think is going to be good for the dress, the blue and raspberry coloured checked dress. So I think I'm going to keep that one for that. No, I've just checked it on the dress and it just comes to the waist, so that's not going to work. Plan B, it looks like I might have to go and find a zip from somewhere. Bit of a pain, that. Or I could use the long navy zip and then later get another one for the other dress. So I've got the zip in. It actually was, touch wood, relatively painless to get this zip in. Whether things are going to go wrong and I'll have to take it out and start again, I don't know. I still need to do that little bit you do at the end of the bottom of an invisible zip. I thought this zip is sort of navy, and it is navy, but the actual tag, the pull, is grey, which is perfect for this dress, which is really good. But I've had it on and there are a few issues, as there always are. But essentially the top here just gapes a bit in the middle. So I just need to take this in. Luckily it's a princess seam, so I can just take that in at either side, which will sort of flatten it out. That's a bit of surgery underneath the lining. Luckily I haven't tacked the lining down or anything like that, so I can basically turn the lining sort of out. The bigger issue is the shoulders, because it's sort of higher here than it is at the edge of my shoulder, and so I need to actually take it down a bit on the neck edge. Well, of course this was all stitched before I turned all the lining through and all of that, and because I put the zip in and joined it all together, I can't turn it back through to get at these seams. So I think what I'm going to have to do is just basically unpick the lining at the top to sort of, and then try and then unpick the lining seam inside, try and get inside, then take these seams in a bit and then sort of put it all back together again, and then sort of hand stitch it very carefully, sort of the lining back on, and try and sort of make it look all pretty and neat, which is a bit of a fiddle, to be honest. It's a pain and it's a fiddle. And I've also got to tack all the lining on the insides, and of course there's the hemming, which means I have to try and persuade my husband to crawl about on the floor and put pins in again, which he's not a big fan of. So anyway, lots of fiddly bits, but I have to say I've put it on and I'm very pleased with the fit. I mean, saying that, this is wrong and that's wrong, but I'm very pleased with the overall fit, and I'm really pleased with the look. This extra bit that I put in the middle really works to extend the length. The length is actually the same length as this Pinafore which I'm wearing, which is actually the apron dress by Assembly Line, which I actually made as the pattern a few years ago now. The other thing I've got to do on this is the pockets, because as you see at the moment, pockets wouldn't work. Nothing would stay in them, so I need to do the top stitching on there. I'd also like to do top stitching around that belt bit that I've put in to make it more formalised, like it's supposed to be there. There is also supposed to be top stitching all around the neck edges and everything to hold it all together. And of course when I do the top stitching here, I would like to do the top stitching through the lining, as is for the edges are all through the lining. Before I do any of that, I need to fix these areas on the bodice, which is a bit of a fiddle. But yeah, I think it'll be worth it. So I'm going to put the effort in to get it right. So yeah, it's sort of not much to do. Not exciting stuff to do now. It's all sort of pretty much together. I just need to make it, fiddle about with these bits and make it fit properly. So probably the next time I will see you will actually be at the reveal.